Welcome to our movie recap series. Today, I will show you a horror comedy film from 2007 called Teeth. Spoilers ahead. In a suburban area near factories in which two large chimneys are smoking, a family is outside sunbathing, Bill and Kim near the shade while the children Brad and Dawn are inside their inflatable pool. Bill calls out Brad to not splash water on his sister, but Brad shouts that she ain't his sister. Bill hopes that Dawn will become Brad's sister, and then gives a meaningful look at Kim. However, Brad says a curse word that makes Bill almost get up his chair. But Kim stopped him, saying he should cut the boy some slack. Brad does a gesture that makes the little girl look, and then commands her to show it to him. Meanwhile, Bill and Kim were having a moment when they hear Brad shout in pain. They go to the kids, and find that Brad's finger is wounded and bleeding, as if something has bitten it. Fast forward to present, Dawn is speaking in front of a young audience in a local Christian abstinence group called The Promise. She talks about the gift of being pure and only giving oneself in marriage. She also explains that wearing the red ring symbolizes the gift of purity being wrapped until the right time of giving it to the right person in marriage. In there she meets Toby, and they feel drawn to each other. Toby is a new student and will attend the same local school Dawn and her friends attend. Dawn goes home to find her mom in bed, and Bill taking care of her. Apparently Bill and Kim had married. Kim takes medication for her sickness, and then they hear the loud rock music coming from Brad's bedroom. Later that night, Brad pranks Dawn by surprising her in the bathroom. Brad also annoys her by intentionally shooting pellet guns on the wall from his room. Dawn just puts on earbuds to block the noise. At their school, Dawn is known for her pledge of abstinence. That's why the boys are always making jokes about it. During their health class, they finish discussing the structure of the male genitalia and proceed to discuss the female genitalia. But the professor finds it hard to say its name. A student asks why the illustration of female genitalia was covered, to which the professor replies that the school board ordered it to be so. The students try to remove the sticker, but instead they tear the page. Another student, Ryan, asked why the illustration for male genitalia was okay to show but not the illustration for the female privates. Dawn raises her hand to try to explain how the female genitalia depicts sexual intercourse, but her classmates just laugh at her. Toby goes to her rescue by agreeing with her. Dawn smiles as she believes Toby has the same belief as her. Later that day, Dawn, Toby, and two other friends Gwen and Phil decide to watch a movie. Dawn says they can't watch movies that are rated R, and that movies rated PG-13 can have heavy make-out session. So Toby suggests they watch a rated G movie. Inside the movie theater, Gwen and Phil kiss each other, and Toby sees this. He's feeling awkward, as he's already feeling that heavy tension between him and Dawn. She feels this as well, but she chose to ignore this and shifts her focus to the movie. Brad is in his room with a girl named Melanie. They are sitting in his bed and hitting a bong, with loud heavy metal music playing in the background. Melanie notices Brad's scarred finger, and asks him how it happened. He says it happened when he was a kid, and that he never figured it out. He then adds that he thinks Dawn bit his finger, but he isn't really sure. The next day, Dawn and her friends go to a famous make-out spot, which is a local swimming hole. Dawn is worried that they themselves might be tempted to make out, but Toby assured her that they will watch each other. Later Dawn and Toby discuss about her abstinence, Dawn admitting that she has never been touched before. Toby also admits that he had experienced having sexual intercourse before, but insists that he's still a virgin in God's eyes, which Dawn takes as guilt for breaking his abstinence, and tries to comfort him by saying he's stronger and more resolved since he's been there before. At the same time, in their house, Brad and Melanie just finished having anal intercourse. The girl didn't like it, and tells him that other boys rather like to have vaginal intercourse. Brad responds by saying let the other boys have it, which made her feel insulted. Brad stands up to get a dog treat and call his Rottweiler named Mother into the cage connected to his room. The dog gets excited and almost bit him, so he went back to bed. The girl remarks how he's going to get what he deserves. Brad mocks her by playing with the dog treat and trying to shove it in her mouth in what he thinks is a seductive way. Later that night, Dawn gets home and sees the television in her mother's room still turned on, and is about to turn off the television when she sees a monster with sharp ragged teeth being shown on the screen. Frightened, she finally turned it off. When she was about to sleep, she fantasizes about getting married to Toby, and how they would both fulfill the promise of giving oneself in marriage. But the image of the monster with sharp ragged teeth suddenly shows, and she is reminded again that she must preserve her purity, even in her thoughts. The next day, Dawn and Toby decided to not pursue each other due to their beliefs. Dawn is in her room reading when she hears Brad and his girlfriend arguing. Concerned, Dawn goes to her stepbrother's room to try and talk to him about his relationship. But Brad cuts her off and asks her if the argument has her turned on. They were never really close as siblings, and she doesn't know why. But Brad cuts her off again to say she does know. Dawn insists she doesn't know, but Brad tells her that her abstinence is nonsense, and implies that Dawn was really saving herself for him. He also adds that he hates living with their parents, which shocks Dawn. In the end, Dawn is frustrated, and the next day she calls Toby to come to the swimming hole. Their attraction to each other is so strong, they both give in to their feelings. They kiss each other, and Toby gropes for Dawn's chest. She pushes Toby and recites purity repeatedly. Dawn swims further and climbs into the cave, and Toby follows. In here, Toby forces himself onto Dawn. She struggles hard, which caused her to hit her head and pass out. Toby takes advantage of this and continues to force himself into her. Dawn gains consciousness and is surprised that Toby is still on top of her. She feels something weird inside her and screams in fear. She shouts, "Get off." They are both surprised when Toby suddenly shouted in pain. When they both look down, Dawn screams again as she sees that Toby's private part is severed and bleeding profusely. Horrified and in pain, he runs out of the cave screaming and fell off the cliff. Dawn gets out of the swimming hole, confused. She cannot find Toby. She went home bewildered and scared, thinking of him. She rips off her illustrations of innocence from the wall, while her stepbrother listened to the ruckus she's making from his room, contently sucking his scarred finger. The next day, she is speaking again in front of another local abstinence group, but she's out of focus. In her point of view, every response of the audience sounds like a cult chant reciting their beliefs about being chastised until marriage. She is tapped by her leader to take a break. She then sees her classmate Ryan, and asks her to drive her home. When they arrived at Dawn's house, Ryan asks her on a date, but she declines. He's annoyed that Dawn thinks it's funny that he asked her out, so he made a U-turn and returned to her house to demand an explanation. But instead of her, Brad comes out of the house. Ryan asks for Dawn, but Brad punches him. On the other hand, Dawn decides to go back again to the swimming hole. She sees Toby's Jeep still parked there. She swims to the cave and is horrified to see a crab crawling on top of Toby's severed private part. At this point, Dawn realizes that she has broken her promise of purity, so she throws away the red ring that symbolizes that promise. At home, she tore from her book the page that contains the illustration of the female reproductive organ that was covered with a sticker. Eventually, she removes the sticker and sees the illustration. She feels like she's discovering herself down there, feeling amazed at how that female body part can look like that. She searches the internet for female genitalia mutations, and she discovers about vaginal dentata, or vaginal teeth, and the mythology surrounding it. It is likened to the journey of the man to conquer his fear of impotence and weakness, and the female's mysterious powers during a sexual union. In addition, vaginal teeth in mythology represents copulation as an epic journey for men to go back to the womb, which is termed as the dark crucible that hatched them. At this point, she decides to go see a gynecologist to check on her. The gynecologist asks her standard questions when examining her. Dawn is nervous, but she answers as truthfully as possible. In the middle of the examination, the doctor takes advantage of her innocence in this kind of procedure. He inserts his whole hand into her vagina, which surprises Dawn. Feeling uncomfortable, she squirms in pain. The doctor tries to make her relaxed, but he feels something inside. Perplexed, he asks her what have she put inside. Before he can do anything, he realizes he can't get his hand out of her as something clamped painfully onto it. He screams in pain and tries to pull his hand out, but Dawn's body drags along. They both scream in bewilderment. Dawn is frightened and the doctor is in agony. When Dawn forces herself to get up, the doctor is pushed onto the ground. They are both horrified to see the doctor's severed fingers lying on the floor, and his hand bleeding heavily. He keeps shouting vagina dentata. Dawn immediately gathers her things and gets out. On her way home, she sees police cars going in the direction of the swimming hole. She follows them, and to her horror, the policemen and the divers discover the lifeless body of Toby from underwater. She went home terrified. She calls out for her mom and stepdad, but no one answers. She then finds her mother slumped on the floor unconscious. She shouts for help, but her stepbrother is too busy doing his own business. She calls 911 for help. Later, she awakes to find herself in the hospital lobby, with her stepfather. He tells her to go home and rest. When Dawn gets home, she finds her stepbrother and Melanie arguing again, so she runs to Ryan. He is surprised to see her there. Dawn can't help herself but tell Ryan all her dilemmas, about her mother being in the hospital, the fact that she thinks she killed someone and that she must go to the police. Ryan gets confused, but Dawn keeps on spilling out her problems. She tells Ryan she has vaginal dentata and cries about the myth surrounding it. Ryan lets her take a bath to calm down, and he gives her a pill which, according to him, is what his mother takes to calm her nerves. While Dawn is in the bath, he lights numerous candles and sets up his room to have romantic ambience. When Dawn gets out of the bathroom, she looks for her clothes, but Ryan stops her and tells her that she might feel fuzzy because of the pill. He convinces her that at her state, if she goes to the police, they might not believe her. He tells her to sit on the bed while he opens and pours the champagne. Dawn looks around and exclaims that the room has been what she is imagining all along when she finally gives herself to a man. She passes out and wakes up to find Ryan pleasuring her. She tries to stop him mating with her because she's afraid to hurt him with her vaginal teeth. But Ryan assures her that everything will be alright, and that he is her hero for that night. After the act, Dawn realizes that the teeth is inactive when she engages in consensual lovemaking. She becomes infatuated with Ryan. Meanwhile, in the autopsy room, the doctor is puzzled to see a piece of tooth embedded in the penile stump. Moreover, the tooth resembles those teeth found in sharks and eels, but further test shows that it's from a human. The police officer questioning the doctor cannot believe it, too. The gynecologist that examined Dawn is lying in a bed in the operating room, with surgeons around him preparing to reattach the severed fingers. When asked about what really happened, he just pulled the nebulizer towards his nose to avoid talking. The next morning, Dawn engages again in a mutual copulation with Ryan. In the middle of the act, Ryan's friend calls and asks if he has already scored with Dawn. He says yes, and to prove it, he tells Dawn to say something on the phone. Dawn says no, and she asks Ryan what it is about. He tells her that he made a bet with his friends about Dawn, that he could bring her to his bed and make love to her. Dawn is in disbelief and tells him that her vow of abstinence was real, despite Ryan saying that he didn't believe it. Dawn is angered so much by what she learned that her vaginal dentata reacts and cuts his private part. Ryan screams in pain. Ryan is brought to the hospital, where he undergoes a surgery to reattach his bitten manhood. The doctor that operates on him seems to be the same doctor that operated on the gynecologist, as he wondered aloud what could be the story behind these severed body parts. Dawn goes to the hospital to visit her mother, but unfortunately she passed away. Bill is in their house and finds Brad lying on bed with Melanie. He tells the girl to get out, and attempts to kick Brad out of the house. They scuffle, and in retaliation, Brad sets his dog onto Bill and orders it to bite him. Bill is wounded and pleads his son to order the dog to go away. Brad takes this opportunity to ask his father why he married Kim. At first, Bill thought that Brad still remembers his biological mother and is resentful to him for marrying again. But he is shocked when Brad reveals to him that he wants Dawn and that he can't pursue her because they've become step-siblings when Bill married Kim. He tries to pacify Brad by telling him that Dawn loves him. This seems to calm Brad, and he ordered his dog to get back inside the cage. Melanie accompanied Bill to the hospital, where Dawn found them. They hug each other and mourn for the passing of Kim. Then Brad's girlfriend gets Dawn's attention, and tells her that she heard Kim's cries for help, but Brad told her to ignore since she was screaming all the time. Dawn is furious to learn about this. She goes back to the house to exact revenge. She goes to her mother's room to change into a white lacy dress, fix her hair and put on some makeup. She then goes to Brad's room, which surprised him. She seduces him by taking his cigarette and smokes from it, and then sitting by him and reaches for his chest. Brad is wary at first but allows Dawn to touch him. He asks her why she is doing this now, to which she replied with a question, "Are you afraid?" Dawn sits on top of him, but Brad stops her as he wants to take Dawn from behind. Dawn resists and positions herself to lie on her back. She lifts her skirt, as if offering her private part to him. He hesitates, but looks into it and then goes on top of her. He's inside Dawn when he remarked that they both knew all along it would come down to this, ever since they were kids. Brad suddenly remembers how he had gotten his scar on his finger. It was when they were young and he tried to touch Dawn in her private part, but instead got bitten down there. Dawn also remembers the incident, noting that at the time, she was aware of what he did to him. Now she knows what she can do to him. Brad realizes what is going on. He tries to get off of Dawn, but it was too late. Her teeth have done their job. Dawn can clearly see the realization and fear on Brad's eyes as she ensures to bite off his manhood. He tries to look for the cut part when he sees Dawn drop it on the floor. He laments that he's too far away to pick it up. Dawn rides on her bicycle away from home. Along the way, the bike's tire gets punctured, so she waits to hitchhike. A car stops to let her ride. She wakes up after a long sleep to find that it's already evening. She's still inside the car, which is parked in front of an unfamiliar grocery store. She tries to get out, but the old man that drives the car locked the doors. He's looking at her, making suggestive noises and movements with his tongue, all the while showing an indecent facial expression. Then she realizes she has a way to get out. She looks back at the old creepy man and smiles knowingly. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch videos like this.